Hello everyone. So in this session, what I'm going to demonstrate is how can we authenticate user using Microsoft Active Directory um, during single sign-on when using PingFederate. So basically, with this, after this demonstration, you should be able to configure Microsoft Active Directory with PingFederate, and then utilize Microsoft Active Directory to authenticate the user, retrieve some user attributes from Active Directory, and then send that user attributes in the Saml assertion. Okay, so one of the prerequisites of this course, or rather this particular demo, is that there should be an existing working Saml 2.0 federation configuration in your environment. So that is a prerequisite. But apart from that, I'll demonstrate everything from scratch. So what I meant by working federation is, so I have, as you can see here, I have two systems. One is IDP, idp.scl.com is an IDP, and there is another URL which is sp.ca.com, that is my SP. So both are using PingFederate version 10.1, and I have already configured a Saml 2.0 federation right now. But right now, this particular IDP authentication is happening using the simple password credential validator, which is basically a hard-coded username and password. We are going to replace that simple password credential validator with the Active Directory authentication. So that's the goal. So just before I start doing the configuration, I'll quickly show you how it is configured right now. So you access this agentless sample app that is provided by Ping. So this is the link, and once you single sign on, it is going to IDP. So this is the flow. So I accessed the SP application and it redirected to IDP. So basically this is a Saml request, authent request, and then I can log in with basically the simple password. Simple credential validator. So in the simple credential validator, I have hard coded the password to be password 01, but all the users in Active Directory has password 02 in my setup. So when I try to log in with password 01, as you can see, user can authenticate. IDP can authenticate the user using the simple PCV and then send the Saml response. So it is all working fine, but it is just that it is utilizing the simple password credential validator right now. Okay, so all good so far. All right. So let me clear this browser session. Okay, so I have so high-level overview or high-level steps that we will need to follow to integrate Active Directory with PingFederate and utilize it in for authentication. I have noted down here. So first step that we will do is we'll create a Active Directory user store object in PingFederate on the IDP side. And there is an optional page. We will also create, or basically we'll basically duplicate an existing HTML login form template so that we can distinguish between the default login screen, which is this, with the new one. So that way we can make sure that we are logging in with the Active Directory adapter. Okay, but this is optional. This is just to differentiate. This is not really required. If you want to skip, you can just skip that option. That is step. Okay, the third step is we will create a new PCV of type Ldap username and password credential validator, and then we will link the login form template that we created in step 2. The fourth step is we will create a new IDP adapter, which is of type HTML form IDP adapter, and it will use the newly created PCV objects in step 3. And then eventually what we'll do is we'll link this newly created IDP adapter with the existing SP connection. So as I said, that's already a prerequisite. So I'm assuming that you already have a working single sign-on configuration on both the sides, on IDP as well as SP side. And then the final step will be testing the login with the new flow. Okay, so let's get it started. The first step is creating a new Active Directory user store object. All right, so let me, okay, I'm already logged in here. So the first step is to create the data stores. So log into system data store. I already actually have a working Active Directory connection, but for this demonstration, I'll be showing it from scratch. So let's say ping1, which is my current host name. You can give any name, ping180, for example. And the data store directory type is Ldap. Click on next. So my host name is ping1. Currently I do not have the Ldap enabled, so I'll skip that. But if you have Ldap enabled, it is advisable to enable Ldap. And user DN. Okay, to make it quicker, I have some sample text here. So basically, I have the administrator value already copied, and then I give the password for that admin account. So let's see, Active Directory. Yep, must specify a default host name. Oh, sorry. Okay. So yep. So you have to click on add. So that's the host name. This is my user directory. Let's test. Yep, connectivity test was successful. Click on next. And that's pretty much it, right? So we have got the user type, yep. Okay. So that's it. Pretty straightforward. We created a new directory, which is ping180 of type Ldap, and we were able to test the connectivity. All right, so we have completed step 1. So next step, we will create a new HTML login template for Active Directory login use case. So all the templates, you can find it here. So PingFederate server default conf template directory. So what we are interested is HTML form login template. So we'll basically use that. So Control C and Control V to create a duplicate copy, and then I'll just rename this to, let's say, HTML form login.ad.template. Okay, and then to visually differentiate in the login form, what we are going to do is we are going to change the title. Right now it is displaying sign on, so maybe I will display that. So by default, the messages are all externalized using the keys, but for simplicity, what I'm going to do for this demo is that I'm going to simply write the text directly here, single sign-on, let's say Active Directory, and I'm going to remove this, or I'll just comment it out. Okay, that's it. So our new template is now ready. Okay, so that completes step 2. We have done. Third step is we will need to create a new PCB of type Ldap. Okay, so let's do that. So PCB is again system, password, credential, validator. So as you can see, right now I have simple, and this is the default one, which I'm not using. So I'm going ahead and creating a new PCB of type Ldap username. Instance name, you can give anything. Let me just give Active Directory PCB. And here I can just say PDPCB. This doesn't really matter, you can give anything here, and then go click next. And what is my Ldap instance? So this is my newly created instance. So what is the search base? So that you have to get from your um, from your AD structure. So all my users are here under CN equal to users. So if I just do properties in ADS edit, so that's my distinguished name. So that is my base DN where all my users are stored. So CN equal to users. So to make it quicker, I have copied that value here. So I just need to give that value in the search base. Search filter. So how you are going to search our user in this directory, right? So by default, in the default login form that we use, it has got a attribute username. So that's how it retrieves that attribute. So in this case, our search filter would be so whatever value that is given in the login form will be searching, looking that up. Sorry, we'll be looking up that value against the SAM account name attribute. So let's copy this one. So what you are saying here is, so look up, search for any user which has SAM account name equal to whatever value that is there in the login form. So it comes as this is basically the variable replacement. And how we want to search one level or subtree, I'll leave it subtree level, and this case sensitive is applied to that. Okay, so so here we can define what are the different attributes that we want to fetch from the directory. So currently I have core as DN, given name, mail, and username. So let's that be there. Okay, so extended contract. So if you want to fetch multiple more attribute, then you can configure it here. Let's click on save. So our Active Directory PCB is created. So that completes step 3. Oh, we did not link the login form. Let me go back and update the form template. Sorry, that's the password credential. Yep. Okay. If you go to the advanced instance configuration advanced field, there's a bit of typo. So basically, you will not link the HTML login form template with the PSC, but rather you will link that with the adapter. So we'll just move it here. So that's quick correction. Okay, so that's it. So we created a PCB. We have linked it to the Active Directory source. So that's I should have written it here, link to AD source, right? Okay, so that we have already done. So next step is creating the new IDP adapter. Okay, so I'm still on the IDP side. So I need to create the authentication adapter. So authentication and then IDP adapters. So right now I have the login form and the out of the box HTML form adapter. So I'm going to create another instance of type HTML form adapter. Oops, HTML form adapter, and then I'm going to, let's say, a name it is HTML form AD instance ID HTML form AD. This doesn't really matter, you can give it anything here. Okay, so IDP adapter. So this is all the default value. So here we can link the template name, the login template, right? So what we did, we added this AD there. So that's my form name. So we added HTML form.login.ad template. So I'm going to give the same name here. That's it. Click on next. Okay, so here we need to specify the PCB, right? So that's the step that I have listed, link new PCB that we created. So add a new credential validator, and then you link the one that we just created. You have to do update. Don't forget to do update, otherwise it will not add it. Click on next. All right, so here, so this is we are in IDP adapter, and then now we need to define the different attributes, okay, that we will need, this particular adapter will populate. So first is name, second is email, type here. Okay, click next. So username is a pseudo attribute, so we just put it like that. Click next. Now we need to configure an adapter contract, so click on that. So here we need to define what is my source, right? So basically what we need to do is we are authenticating against the Active Directory, and then we want to retrieve not only on we don't want to just authenticate against the Active Directory, but we also want to retrieve the attributes from Active Directory, like the name and the email field. So for that we have to add the attribute source as Active Directory. So Active Directory instance is the new one that we created, and we'll just say Active Directory on ping1. That's my host name. You can give anything here, doesn't really matter. AD ping1. Click next. Attribute source ID must be alphanumeric. Okay, so let's give it AD ping. Attribute source ID must be alphanumeric. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't text the space. Yep. So here we are giving again the filter where we want to look the users up from the directory. So again the same base search filter. Okay, and we want to look up from subtree. And here now the next thing that we need to do is we need to specify what all attributes we want to return from the search, right? So what we are doing here is we are looking up we're fetching additional attribute for the logged in user from the Active Directory. So if you look at my Active Directory, so my users, the object class is user. So I need to select the object class as user first. Okay, and then I specify what all attribute that I want to retrieve. So my adapter needs name and email as an additional attribute. So name would be my given name. Click on add attribute, and then I also want the mail attribute. Actually, let's do, instead of given name, let's do the display name. That will be the full name. Okay, so yeah, so once the user is authenticated, and what this particular mapping will do is basically it will retrieve this additional mail and display name attribute of that user from Active Directory. If you're just trying to authenticate the user from Active Directory, this is not required. This is required. This step is required when you want to retrieve an additional attribute apart from authenticating the user. Okay. And what will be the filter for the? I mean, how would adapter filter the user from Active Directory? So it's going to be the same account name filter. Yep. So what we are saying is we are getting this, providing this filter to look up the user. Yep. Subject end. So these are the attributes that is going to return. This is the filter that is going to be used against my Active Directory. That's it. Click on save. So my newly created HTML form AD adapter is now ready. Okay, so that completes. So what we have done, we have created a new adapter. We have linked it with the PCB that we created. We have also linked it with the login form template that we created earlier. So now the final step is to link this newly created adapter with the existing SP connection that I have in my IDP setup. Okay, so I'll do that now. So I have on the IDP side, application, SP connections. So this currently I already have a SP connection, so I'm going to just modify the existing connection. So here you will see, so you'll have to do a couple of things here. So you have to change the adapter instance. So right now, as you can see, we are using the my login form adapter, and then we have also some attribute contract fulfillment, like email is being provided by the adapter itself. So that will remain same even for the new adapter, because adapter will fetch the data from the Active Directory, and it's we have to look up the adapter itself. So that configuration will remain same, but let's modify the adapter here. So my login form, that's the authentication source mapping. So currently it is my login form. So what I'm going to do, instead of deleting the existing mapping form, I'm just going to map an additional mapping form. Okay, so basically you will be getting an option to select which adapter you want to use. Okay, so I have selected that form. Click next. So here we are saying that whether you want to map additional mapping or just get the value from the adapter. So I'm selected use only the adapter contract. Click next. Okay, so fulfill your attribute contract with the values from the authentication adapter or with the dynamic text values, right? So here we are saying fulfill it from adapter, name also fulfill it from adapter. So from email, so adapter has got email attribute, so fulfill it from email attribute, and even the name, fulfill it from name attribute. Right, so we are doing that mapping here. Saml subject would be just the adapter username, so that's our name ID attribute. All right, so issuance criteria, we don't really need anything, so we'll just need to save it. All right, so we have basically linked up and additionally created the newly created adapter with the existing SP connection. Now the next step is to test if it is working or not. Let's go ahead and test it. So before I test it, I'll just clear my Saml treasure and also maybe clear the cache. Click on. Okay, so first step is good. So I'm getting my newly created login form. No, sorry. So here, because we have multiple adapters configured, we are getting that selection option to choose which adapter I want to use. So this was the original one, and this is the newly one that we created. I'll just say don't remember my selection in HTML form ID, and then click on continue. All right. So now that's the new template that we created, right? So I mean, with this we know that whatever username and password that we provide here, it will be validated against the Active Directory. Okay, so just to test it out, in my case, the simple PCB, if it uses simple PCB, it has the default password is password01, and if but in the AD side, the password is password02. So I'll just test with the simple PCB password and see if that works. When it shouldn't work if it is using the Active Directory connection. Okay, so you don't recognize username and password, so it looks like that is working. So we'll try with the Active Directory username and password. Okay, so login. Cool. So let's see what happened. Okay, it fetched. So this is the final Saml page. So it fetched the user ID, but it did not fetch the name and email. So let's see what happened in the Saml, what was sent in the assertion. I'm going to validate that. So this is the Saml post. Okay, so it doesn't have the the name and the email attribute. So let's quickly look at the logs. I have enabled the debug log on the IDP side. Okay, so let's see this. Okay, so what it is saying is it could find the user, but it could not map for email and name. It couldn't identify those two attributes. Okay, ignoring attempt. So basically it did not was not able to resolve those two attribute. So let's go back to the to our adapter. Okay, so as you can see from the log that the adapter was not able to provide the email and name. So let's look up the adapter configuration. So I'll go back to authentication and adapter, and this is my new adapter. Okay, so let's look at the contract fulfillment, adapter contract fulfillment. Okay, oh, all right. So okay, so there was a small mistake here. So adapter needs to get the value. So we're looking at the adapter IDP adapter, and adapter needs to get these values, email and name, from the Ldap lookup, right? So that's why we have configured the AD. We have configured the attribute source lookup, but we haven't used that. So we have configured it, but we haven't used it. So that's the issue, it seems. So let's say we look up that email value from okay, it looks like I'm not getting that value here, so I'll just go back to the lookup and see if that attribute is saved or not. Ldap directory search attribute. Oh, okay, so for some reason the attribute the additional attributes were not saved here, so it is retrieving only the subject DN from this lookup. So let's quickly modify that. Yeah, so attributes to return from the search, right? So it is returning only the subject here. So let's return. So first was display name and attribute. Maybe we did not save it last time. So user second attribute was mail. Okay, so make sure that it is saved now. Okay, so email doesn't have a value, so we should be able to now map it up. So what we are saying is the adapted attribute email should be looked up from the AD source attribute mail, and similarly name would be attribute display name, and username and adapter polish section, this will fetch by default. You don't have to do anything. So click on next, rather you can directly click on save. Okay, so that should do it. Let's quickly test it again. I'll just clear my cache and then also the Saml treasure. Okay, test it using my AD newly created form. Continue. So my password is password02 login. All right, looks like it's working this time. So I'm getting the email address and also the name. Let's quickly look at the Saml assertion as well. So that's the assertion coming in from IDP. So if we go all the way down, yep. So it has got email as kellyWang.sel.com and also the name and then subject. So everything is working fine. So just to summarize, what we have done is we first created the new Active Directory connection from IDP side, because that's where the authentication happens, and then we created a HTML login form template. This is an optional step. This is just to differentiate that we see a different login screen when the HTML when the AD form adapter is used. Just to differentiate, this is an optional, and we created that. Then we created a new TCP objects of type Ldap username and password credential validator, and then we linked that particular PCB with the AD source that we just created. Fourth option that we did was we created a new adapter of type HTML form adapter. We linked the newly created PCV, and also we linked the newly created HTML form template with that adapter. And eventually we linked this new adapter with the existing SP connection that I had already had. So I did not delete the existing one. I just added an additional one, but you can replace it if you want to. So with that, so what is happening right now is when we access the application, it prompts me for to select the adapter. So if I select the newly created AD form adapter, it will authenticate my credential against Active Directory, and it will retrieve the name and email address also from Active Directory, and then send that in the session. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much.